Okay. We'd like to welcome everybody to our South Weaver City Council meeting this evening. We appreciate your attendance. 6 p.m. Today's Tuesday, September the 12th, 2023. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance from Councilman Soderquist and a prayer by Councilwoman Petty.
Please stand and repeat with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we are so grateful for this beautiful day that we have to gather together as community and be able to discuss the needs of our residents and our beautiful valley we have. We are asked that will help us to discuss with an open mind and open heart and be able to take into consideration all of the effects of every decision we make. We're so grateful for our sheriff's department, for our fire and all of our military, and ask a blessing upon them and their family, that they will be watched over as they have a burden to take care of us. And we appreciate them for that. Help us that we can have thy spirit and make good choices. And we love thee and say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. We're excusing Councilwoman Haley Alberts this evening. She contacted us at the last minute, tried to make it, but she's just under the weather and wasn't able to do so. I will begin this evening with our public comments. If you have a comment, we'd ask you to come up to the microphone. Have 3 minutes to make your comment, to direct the council entirely, and state your name and the city that you're from. So we'll open for comments. Anyone have any? Lynn?
Lynn Paul, 826 East South Weaver Drive. 3 things, and I'll talk in a hurry, 3 or 4 things. First of all, I appreciate those of you who's not running for office again. I appreciate the work that the city has done over the years. I appreciate it. I know it takes a lot of time, and I appreciate the effort and the time you put in. Second thing, there's a big construction right here on top of this hill above Starks. I think I've mentioned it before. I don't think it's kind of in the county. It is in the county and it's out of sight, but they're getting more and more. There's thousands of tons of ground up asphalt and stuff up there. I don't know if anybody's looking at it, but anytime we have a south wind, we get more dirt from that area than any other place. We get more dirt from there than we do from the gravel pits, quite truthfully. I have complained, I don't know how many times, every time I've ever come to a city council meeting, about our code enforcement as far as dogs in the park. It hasn't got any better in the last 3 or 4 years. Also on code enforcement, there are places in South Weaver that look horrible. It looks like down on Wall Avenue or Lower Wall Avenue. There's cars that's been parked there for years. Nobody ever does anything about it. There's yards that no one mows the grass or the weeds month after month. And I just think it's something we should take more pride in our city. Hopefully we'll do it as individuals, but apparently we need some encouragement from the city. One last thing. I know that they're developing a road up through camps, or they're trying to develop it. I would encourage the city to look at getting rid of the 70-foot wide road. The state and the county are trying to do away with wide parking strips because it wastes money, it wastes water, and it also makes the houses more expensive that live there because it costs more to put in the sidewalk and that, and then they lose usable ground in a park strip. A 60-foot road would still give you 2.5 or 3.5 feet of park strip on each side, 5-foot sidewalks, which is ample. So I just encourage you to do that before those of you who are retiring before you retire. Anyway, appreciate everything you do.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thanks, Lynn.
Well, I'm Mackenzie Esplin. And this is my first time to ever a city council meeting or anything, so bear with me, but I would just like to make a complaint about the street that we live on. I live on 1250, right next to the elementary school, and there's been a new traffic pattern put in, and it's causing problems with parking for when kids are getting picked up after school. The curb is not painted red, and it is now, there's no place for people to park right there as you come out of South Weber Elementary School. So people are parking in the travel lane without knowing it's a travel lane because the curb is not painted red. I've talked to a lot of the deputies that have been around the school, and they've said there's not much they can do as far as enforcement because it's not posted that you can't park there. But then people are parked in the travel lane, so they're kind of at a predicament. So there's been problems on the back to school night. And then there's problems every day after school. I just live right there, like right in front of it. But so what's happening is people are parking there, which makes it so the buses cannot turn because now there's a turning lane. And so the buses are having to wait. It's a danger to the kids because they're walking because there's no extra space for the bus to turn. And so when the buses do turn, the kids have to wait to cross with the crossing guard because there's not enough space for all three of those lanes with that travel lane there. So I just wanted to make that aware that if we could possibly get it painted red or a sign that says no parking, something like that. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Keith, are you here to make a comment?
Well, I say.
Just hello.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, then we'll move along. Next, we've got some presentations we'd like to make. So we'll go into that for our Country Fair Days. We've got a presentation, and as we call your name, we'd like you to come up. And we've got a little gift for you. And Shaylee's going to help me out here. Before we get into that, let me just thank everyone that has worked so hard on Country Fair Days. South Weber is a small community, but there is nothing small about the Country Fair Days that this city puts on every year. I think it's fabulous. Everyone does a great job, and we appreciate all the hard work and effort. And there's nothing more valuable than people's time, and it takes a lot of time to pull this off, and we appreciate all the hard work from everyone that works on Country Fair Days every year. So with that being said, Tawny Lynch, she is our chairwoman. She's here. We'd like for her to come up. She's okay then.
Oh, are you receiving it for her?
Kathy.
Yeah.
And
So I will receive it.
so while you're there, then you can receive yours. So Tracy, why she was the co-chairwoman, and we appreciate.
Sure, sure.
All right.
Oh, great. And I can deliver to people that aren't here. So.
Okay, Candace Mikesell, is she here? She was in charge of the pop-up sweet shop. Stacy King was in charge of the Pepsi wagon. She kept everybody hydrated and well-fed with the hot dogs. Appreciate her. Darren Gardner and Tawny and Tracy Harper. They were over the golf tournament. Matt Wren and Chad Lynch for the pickleball tournament. Do you want to get Chad? You want to?
I'll just take that.
When it's left, there's only gonna be a few.
Lacey Lovelace, she helped coordinate the parade on Saturday, which was great. Michael Poff and his family, this is a big one. They worked very hard on the Monday night dinner.
Come on up.
Did she leave? Got someone with you?
It's called in early.
Oh,
Okay, well, come on up. They do a great job with this every year. We appreciate it.
Michael and Amy are at the ball game soccer and they send a video and the girl hits the ball into.
Oh.
So I don't know if they're. Or if they're. Or if they're going to hospital. I don't know.
Okay.
But we had fun doing that.
Well, we appreciate it.
So you want me to take, I
Yeah.
take them a candy bar. Thank you.
Okay, Dale and Gail Ukena and their family. Let's Make a Deal would not be near as fun without their family. This has been a great tradition over all of the years. Really appreciate them and their hard efforts. So they're here.
Got the smile perfect. Okay, you can glare. Whatever face you want to give. Is that one insured? Yes. Okay. 3, 2, 1. All right.
Ali Keach, is he here for the Little Buckaroo Rodeo? Natalie Browning for the Kids K Race. Chris Buckway for the 3-on-3 basketball tournament. Marty and Lisa Harward for the memorial race. I'll take that one. They're in Hawaii. Mackenzie Esplin for the booth. Jill Cap and Jenny Paul for the Old Timers baseball game. Josh and Heidi Nelson for the car show. Vicky Christensen for the all-day Saturdays entertainment, which she did a fantastic job. That was a great day, all day long. Ended with a great concert. Mothers of Mayhem. How many of you were there for that? They were awesome. And we had them last year, and I think we should book them again for next year. I don't know if they'd come 3 years in a row, but
that's next. We're not-
that's the last item on the list. And Holly Dance for the chalk art. So that's the list that I have. We want to also, it's worth mentioning the staff from South Weber, the public works people that come in. And for all of the events, we had people there taking care of what needed to be taken care of, I guess. And Davis County Sheriff Department, we appreciate your coming and spending time with our city and law enforcement as well as our fire department. So. for the
Mayor, we
safety.
also have the youth city council who did the movie in the park. And we got a lot of them here for a photo.
I saw that they are here and they were a great help as well. So Youth City Council, come up. Absolutely.
They have two.
Okay. They got the bill.
That's just because you've got heels on. Our youth city council helps us on a lot of events and we really appreciate them. They're great. Okay, let's give everyone a round of applause and again, we thank you very much for all that you did and we look forward to doing it again next year. You're all welcome to stay if you'd like, or if you got other plans and need to leave, you can do that as well. Our next item then is going to be our Davis County Sheriff's quarterly report. So Sergeant Pope, are you in charge of that? We'll give them a minute to exit.
Absolutely.
Good catch. Well, then he should have got out of bed.
Because he was late. I told him when he leaves. Don't shoot. the messenger.
Only because he was a past mayor. Well,
All right.
You know what? That's not.
Here we are again, this next quarter leaves two beautiful faces, one significantly more hairy than the other. I'll let you guys choose who's is what.
I'm working on that.
That's what. Here we are again. So we're going to be going over the patrol statistics from May 22nd to September 10th. I know we're a couple days past that, but that's our dates that are in between. Hours in the city, we have 1,431. For dispatch calls, we have 408. And we also have 599 on view dispatch calls, which means our deputies are the ones who are basically initiating that call. So we actually have, out of the total calls, more than half are initiated by us as deputies and our sheriff's office.
What kind of calls are those? I mean, is it just from being over there by Maverick and seeing something suspicious going on or seeing a?
Partly,
Yeah.
there's quite a bit of things that go into it. Traffic stops, contacts with citizens, going over to I actually sit in the
Parking right?
parking right quite a bit before campers that are there. There is one there right now. I'm sure everyone has noticed that. After parking, basically, you guys give them a allowable parking for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And that's still, I believe, the 18th. Is when the last I saw that was in there. He is not living in that camper at this time. He's actually parked that camper, so I think that's where the parking comes in instead of living in. But it kind of depends on everything from those types of contacts to traffic stops to even coming in and doing that sit down with the city. We'll take a COP for that, which is community oriented policing case for that. So things like that.
And that counts as an on view.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I will let our analysts go over the rest of these statistics, because we all know how the first sheet is with them.
Okay,
I try to be. Hi, my name is Elizabeth. Thank you so much for having us. So of those calls, so of both dispatched and on view calls, 315 were non-criminal in nature. 25 were person crimes. 25 were property crimes. 11 were crimes against society. 547 were traffic. And 50 of those were medicals that, of course, we just come and assist for those. And the rest are a NRR or a no report required for those.
So out of 547 traffic stops, 215 were written citations, which is 38.9% of them were written. And 18 warnings. Obviously, there's a few more warnings in there because the map doesn't quite add up, but that's where they were getting written warnings. It's actually the 18 versus a verbal warning.
So if I could ask a quick question, out of the last 3 or 4 that we got of the presentations, I was able to pull up a couple of them. And you used to put in it the number of speeding tickets, and it went off in Q1 and it's off here again. Is that a number that we can get?
That absolutely is a number that we can get. I'm so sorry about that.
Oh, that's
Absolutely.
okay.
I think it might be on the next slide,
Oh, okay. Shut up, Joel.
That's fine.
maybe.
That's good.
Oh, yeah. Look at me
Segue,
go.
segue.
Sorry about that, guys. We do have speeding tickets, yeah.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah, so of those citations, 112 were not of the ones that we're gonna be discussing further. 78 were moving violations. 7 were non-moving violations. We actually had no parking violations this last quarter. Yay. 18 were written warnings, and then 160 of those were speeding tickets.
Awesome, thank you.
Absolutely.
I'll finish out.
Sweet.
Is that all? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I was asked to, rather than going over specific incidents that we have gone over in the past, we were asked to go over kind of the things that we are doing in the city to try and enforce laws or even extra patrols, that type of thing. I brought a few other statistics here. Community oriented policings, like I told you there before, sometimes that depends on stopping at a lemonade stand or sitting down and talking to someone about bicycle safety. I've even played basketball with kids before and had a COP is what we call them. There was over 106 extra patrols where we initiated those. So that's our deputies who are going through the city and calling out on an extra patrol. And if they don't call out on it, they could still be in that area, but it wouldn't generate a statistic. These are the ones that did. We had 35 follow-ups, so that means that they were investigating a previous case and they came back into the city to try and follow up with a previous case to get more information or even maybe arrest a suspect. There's 23 parking problems. We didn't give citations on those parking problems. With the updated parking ordinance that happened in April, we've been trying to kind of educate people on that and ask them to move their property, which a lot of times has been trailers that we've run into that the city has let us know about. And the citizens have been great about it, actually. When we go up, knock on the door and say, hey, would you mind moving your trailer? This is the new parking. I usually actually print it out for them and hand it to them. They've been awesome about it. Within a couple hours, they'll have it moved and we don't usually end up coming back. So that's actually been great. And let's see, 50 radar enforcements, which that's all throughout the city. That's what I've tried to do a little bit more of this time is go through the city streets and sit and do radar. And we'll try and combat this speeding issue that has been going on. I've noticed the trailers and the signs up everywhere as well. So those are going well. And then we have 30 school zones. I know that sounds kind of low for 3 months, but then school just barely started in August, at the end of August. So we actually have quite a few school zones. We try to have our deputies at school zones every single day, morning and afternoon. Sometimes that's not possible, but that's our goal. I also drive through the city about 3-4 times a day. I make my loops through the city streets and things like that, wave at everyone. I've caught a few open doors here and there, things like that. So that's kind of what we're focusing on, whereas actually our persons crimes are way down, children crimes are way down from last quarter. So that's a big side of things, right? That's something that we had struggled with before, but I think is going very well.
Good.
Are there any areas you guys have of concern that we can control, that we can do more at?
One thing I did notice at the charter school was that we're having a lot of people now that are going on and parking across the street in the no parking.
Okay.
Just there at the end of school so that their kids can dart across or that they can
Okay.
go over and come with their kids in some cases. But we've had a number of people talking about how that's kind of
Okay.
gotten into a dangerous situation there with.
Okay.
So
I've noticed a lot of high traffic going through the 1250 East area. And so we've kind of concentrated a little bit more on that one, but it sounds like we probably need to shift a little bit and maybe kind of hit back and forth on those. Okay, we can do that.
And thank you for being around and visible with all the speeding. It is noticeable and it has
Good.
helped. Thank you.
I'm glad. Thank you. Is there any other areas?
I just had a question, because I know that what I was told, I should say, is that Highmark is not eligible for a crosswalk. I don't know the reasoning behind that. Is that something that the city can work with UDOT
I would think that that's who you would have to go through is UDOT with that, because from what I understand is it's not a public school. So it doesn't have certain parameters around it. I don't know exactly what those are, so.
Okay,
As
but-
far as what those are, it would go through DOT.
But there is a potential that we could possibly reach out to UDOT and get that.
I would hope so, but I'm not sure. on that.
When we met with UDOT, that was what was brought up. And there has to be a reason. We have to give them a pretty significant reason, which I think it has.
Mhm.
But, and then there's a cost associated and we talked about even possibly sharing that cost.
Yeah, okay.
So it's something that
And if that's.
they
something
they
that
kind
is-
of frown on it, to be honest with you, but they said it is, they have a few where they've allowed it. So
Okay.
If that's
And
something
that's
like us to
because of where they
document
are
or-
at the exit, right?
it's, I mean, why they don't
Which
allow
one?
it.
Yeah.
Good proximity.
Why they don't allow it because it's a UDOT road, and it's a charter school. They don't put them
That's
in,
it.
they don't put them in for charter schools, period. They don't put school zones, which they kind of should,
Mhm.
and they don't put crosswalks for charter schools, which they should.
And if that's something you'd like us to document, a little like through our cases, I mean, that's something we can do. We can document. things.
Yeah, that would be great. And then we can have a more of a case, so to
Right.
speak, to
Database.
discuss
Yeah,
that
sure.
with them. It'd be a good
Sure,
option,
if
because
that's-
it is a problem. And I don't know, like you said, Joel, the proximity to the intersection, I don't know if that's a factor, but I mean, we need to have something there.
Okay, and if that's something we can help with, absolutely. We'd love to do that. So we have safer school areas.
'Cause
so-
we tried to get them to slow the speed down,
Right.
and that was when that discussion was, and they wouldn't slow the speed down either through the.
Tell you what, if I could
Did I say that wrong?
enforce laws on fairness, this would be a much better world. I'll tell you that right. So, But, okay, got the framework charter. We can definitely work on that. And document some of the things we see there. And any other problem areas that you guys have noticed?
I think that's it, Sergeant Pope. We appreciate
Yeah.
you.
Appreciate it.
you
Appreciate
so
all you
much.
guys do.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I
Thanks
appreciate
for
it.
all that you
Thank
do.
All right, so this information is gonna be illustrating the investigation statistics from May 1st through September 10th. So as Sergeant Pope did acknowledge, we're actually a bit down on crimes in these last couple months that have been investigated, which is a great thing. So you'll see that our hours worked by detectives is 48 over this last quarter. While that is down, that's a good thing, right? That means that we're not having to investigate as many crimes, which is always a good thing. And now that is down, that will also only illustrate the amount of cases that have been closed during that time. So any cases that are currently being worked by our detectives, those hours are not updated in that number.
Elizabeth,
Yes, sir.
just for clarification, so these are cases that are currently being investigated. It doesn't mean that we actually had 3 cases of child abuse. It just means that an investigation was opened, and whether it was or wasn't taken on for prosecution, or is that we had 3 prosecutable cases of child abuse?
That's a good question. You're correct. Yeah, so that means that we had 3 cases where child abuse was investigated.
Okay.
Numbers detailing whether or not those went forward as far as whether or not we screened charges are not illustrated here.
Okay, so all of these crimes aren't currently happening right now. They're being investigated, but it just, every time I see these, it's kind of a scary look going, I just can't believe we have this going on in our town. So,
Gotcha. Yeah, and it can be hard to look at. Yes, these are cases that are currently being investigated. That's correct. Yeah.
thank you.
Well, these are cases that we received over this quarter. Yes, and whether or not they've been closed or whether they're still being worked is also not illustrated. These are just cases that we've received over this last quarter.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And within this last quarter, we've received 28 cases that require investigation. On this next slide, we'll go into a little bit more in depth as far as what those cases were. Red illustrating person crimes, blue illustrating property crimes, yellow illustrating crimes against society, and green illustrating death investigations. Of person crimes, child abuse, and protective order violations were our most investigated, and of property crimes, you can clearly see that we have forgery and fraud as the top crime investigated of that. Any questions here? Wonderful. And as I know that we had mentioned quite a few quarters back, I think probably about a year and a half ago or so, that we did take on a victim services unit. So we wanted to start offering you data for that as well. So over this last quarter, our victims advocates have served 19 victims. A total of 181 services provided to these victims, totaling almost 34 hours.
So nice. I love that. I love that you guys started off.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you so
yeah,
much.
it's
That's
great.
amazing.
It's been a huge addition to our office and just amazing to listen to the effect they're able to have with victims. So we're very excited about those numbers, actually.
Yeah, we are too. We're
Yeah,
happy
it's
to have that
fantastic.
addition. Yeah. That's all we have for you this evening. Do you guys have any additional questions for me at all regarding investigations, analytics?
Yeah,
Oh, thank you. It's very helpful.
I think
Thank
that's
you so
it.
much, you guys.
Great for the information. Thank you.
Quinn,
Yes.
would you take Haley's microphone and bend it down? Oh, thanks. Mhm. Thank you, sheriffs.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're gonna have one little hiccup in our agenda. We'd like to go back to public comments for just a minute and offer some time to Bill Petty if you'd like to come up.
Well, I planned on Bill Petty, 7898 South, 2800 East South Weaver. I planned on having a lot more presentation, but I had a slight malfunction with my computer system. So who would you like me to give these to?
Paul likes to hand them out. Just kidding, Mike will. Michael will. Will you do it, Michael? Thank you for volunteering.
Put a couple across here, Mike, if there's not enough, and a couple over to staff.
Well, there's 10 there,
Is there
but 4
10?
of them
Okay,
are
then there's-
very poor photos. This is in regards to the work that's being done on the water line up the service road, as they call it, and down through our properties, our family's properties. It's been terrible. This last storm, big storm, it really hammered our property. And I've got to admit that Jones and Associate have had, I think it was Ben Slater, and I don't remember the lady's name that came out. But they have
Dana.
they have came out and they have talked with us. And the contractor states that it's graded to the specific specs of Weaver Basin. Well, the problem with that is that all that did was funnel it. And I can guarantee you that our pond is not an official drainage point for the sediment. You can kind of see in that first picture that that's not a normal color of water in our pond. And that's after it has cleared up some. The next pictures just kind of show up in our spring at the top what happened when that storm came through.
Mr. Petty,
Yes.
I don't know where this is at.
Okay,
This is the
east
East
of the
Bench
highway.
transmission line is what we're, the city's project.
Okay,
All the way up on the mountain.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah. But we have had a very serious problem in this particular one again. And I realize the past ones were not the cities, but where this is a city water line, I was advised to bring it up to the city first. So that's why I'm here. But it has washed tons, literally, of sand. And if you look at there's one that's got the white Ford in it. You can see that the sand and mud is still washing down, and that was midweek last week that picture was taken. The last one that you look at is the inlet to our pond. You see the tree on the left, it's kind of coming in off the edge. My son had his backhoe down here from Morgan. And it's one of those backhoes that's got an extended arm and the whole 9 yards. He cleaned out that whole area that is sitting right there to where it was about 8 feet deep. And as you can see, that is sand that is washed down into our pond again. And it keeps silting all the way out through, so as a result of all of the sediments coming down that ditch from things that are not necessarily ours, it's getting shallower, which means the water gets warmer, which means the Phragmites and the cattails are just walking right out across it. It's almost impossible to get those out once they get in there. I don't know what the actual solution for this is. I really don't. But I wanted to bring it to the city's attention because just walking up onto the road and saying, well, yeah, we see what the problem is. And they push a little dirt up in the pile. That's not a solution. Because I know if we get another rainstorm here in the next few weeks, I'm gonna get it again. And my sons have gone from clear up at the top and hand dug the irrigation ditches through the hayfield. And I have pictures, a whole bunch more than what's here, of where it had been irrigated and turned out. And instead of being black soil, it's all silty sand all the way through our pastures. And it gets tiring after a while. And so I would like to have the city's help in directing us or helping us or something of what we can do. We had built a sediment pond at the top, and this last storm filled it and still ran down the ditches and did what you said.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks.
Okay, our next item is approval of our consent agenda, which consists of August 22nd minutes, August checks, and July budget to actual. Is there any discussion on these items or anything that anyone, the council would like to talk about here? Not, we'll ask for a motion.
I just have a quick question for Matt. I didn't have the time to go through all of the budget versus actual spent right now. Is there anything that we should be made aware of?
Did you have a chance to look at the summary?
Nope.
Okay. I tried, I'll just say for the benefit of everybody, we decided to highlight just in the summary, those things that should be in, I know it's a big, long document. So I went through and highlighted in the summary. Sorry, I don't have that. Let me just get that up real quick. Oh, that was on the addendum, wasn't it? That was on the second email. The most important thing to note about that was there on the revenues, you'll see a lot of revenues or the majority of the revenues that say zero for the first month. That's because of timing issues. There are a lot of revenues that, for example, sales tax and so forth, there are delays. An example is the revenue sales tax collected in July at a store is remitted to the state in August and doesn't get to us till September. And so that's when it is recognized as sales tax to the city. So those are the type of things you'll see a lot of revenues. That doesn't mean that we're way behind. It's just a timing issue on revenue. So July really looks with a lot of zeros or very low income. There were several items such as interest is high and is only in one account because that's where we keep it during the year till it gets distributed. We distribute interest. That's in 1036-100. We have we have certain things like in legislative budget, you're a very high percent, 84% the first month. That's because there's an annual payment to Utah League of Cities and Towns, once a year payment. Transfer to Country Fair Days, that one's at 100% in the very first month because we made the transfer. insurance and surety bonds is maxed out after 1 month, but that's because all of our annual payments for all of insurance comes in during the month of July, right at the first of the year. Flag football is at a high percentage, both on revenues and expenditures. That's a seasonal thing. Programs going on in the summer, and so you'll see those kind of things happening there.
And all the sports aren't lumped together. That is just the
Yeah,
flag
the
football.
various
We've had
sports, the
others.
revenue and their expenditures in the budget are separated, so you can see how much revenue do we get on this sport and what is the corresponding expense. So you can compare how they work together rather than having all revenues together and all the programs lumped together.
Perfect, thanks.
We have on promotions in the storm drain, once a year annual payment, and that is because the promotions are handled by the association. We pay one of the other cities and all the storm drain promotions and things to get word out to everybody on storm drain type things is all done collectively. And we don't have to do it ourselves, so it's done by the coalition. So those are the type of things. You will see that also the city hall budget is over because not all the expenditures came in on June 30th. We didn't budget past June 30th. And so we're going to need to open the budget to include, we haven't gone over budget. Just last year's budget for this remodel was not all done by the end of the year. So there was some July work done, and that's in this year's budget. So those are the highlights.
Thank you, Mac.
Thanks for doing that, Mac. It was helpful before.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
I wish I would have seen it. Sorry.
Okay, any others questions? If not, we'll look for a motion here.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next item on the agenda. Our agenda tonight is resolution 23-39 Public Works Facility Design Build Project Award. I've asked Councilwoman Petty if she would just kind of give us a highlight on how we got to this point with the committee that we had formed to look at this, and so we'll turn some time to Councilwoman Petty.
Thank you, Mayor. So as everyone is aware, this is a long time in coming. We discussed in 2019, I think it was, possible locations. And we've gone all the way to this point, and it's only taken us 4 years. Just kidding, that's forever. Okay. So we had 8 proposals. All of the committee members rated each of the companies with their proposals based on certain criteria. That was then placed into a worksheet, and we could see who was first through 8th. And then we selected the top 4 for interviews. We did the interviews, and it was very eye-opening where some of these prices came in, where some people you could see the value in working with them, and others maybe not. So we narrowed it down to 2, and then overall decided to recommend working with Valley Design. Am I saying that right?
Mhm.
Valley Design and Construction with Ridgeline Design Architects. They had a really great price. They were local, and we felt like very comfortable working with them. Their timeline was the best timeline. What else? Change orders. Yeah, they're local.
They have really good experience with that type of building.
Thank you. That they almost exclusively do that type of building. Not always, but almost exclusive.
Thank you. Angie, any questions on this?
No, it's helpful to go through the summary of all the 8 proposals, so thank you.
Okay. We'll look for a motion then on this resolution.
I'll move to approve resolution 2338, awarding the Public Works Facility Design Build Project to VDC and issuing a notice to proceed.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We'll do a roll call vote, starting with Councilman Alverson.
Aye.
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 Yes.
That's the way I feel.
Yes, finally.
Yeah, are you?
Almost
That
brought
Joel.
my celebration popper.
You should have. But this is a big deal.
And just so everybody knows, I mean, I think the work of Brandon has been very, very helpful in getting us to the price and saving the money that we're at right now currently with the staff and public works and putting their input. I mean, if you remember the presentations we were getting a long time ago, this building was 3 times that, or these 3 buildings were 3 times that cost.
Or
Yeah, 4 times
Yeah.
that cost. We're still not done. This isn't final numbers, guys. Just remember that. That is one thing you do need to remember. We have the site work. And there will be some other changes and whatnot, but this is way, 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 way better than where we were sitting.
Yep.
So it is, no matter who we would have chosen, it was still better than where we were a few months ago. So, and we couldn't have done it without Brandon's help. There's no
Yeah.
I
question.
agree. I agree.
So the amount of
Great,
money we're
Brandon.
paying him, he saved us. I can guarantee you that.
Okay, our next item, resolution 23-39, final acceptance of Riverside Place Phase 4. Any discussions on this resolution? None, will ask for a motion.
Mary, make a motion, we approve resolution 23-39, final acceptance of Riverside Place Phase 4.
Seconded.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We'll begin with roll call vote by Councilman Fields.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Next item, approve Toro mower lease agreement. Any discussion on this new mower that we're about to receive?
What? I think it's hard for us to all wrap our heads around a mower this expensive, but when you see it's a 12-foot deck, it's a little different than my 30-inch one at my house, it's a little different. So.
well, and I went back through my notes to try to find some of the what went on during that time. And I have down in my notes that to purchase that mower outright is $110,000 to $115,000 range just for that mower. So the idea behind it of still being able to basically rent to own, if you will, where you're owning it and then selling it in the 5 years. I would like to think that it would last longer than 5 years, but hearing and seeing all of the problems that we've had with mowers just this year alone, it's been very difficult. For quite a while, we've only had one mower handling all of our parks. And that's definitely a place that we don't want to be again. So I do wish the price was lower, but I can't change that.
Mark, do you have anything you'd like to say?
No, just even new mowers, I mean, when we go down on a mower, we get behind, so it's almost impossible to catch back up. Especially in the spring and the fall when you're mowing some of the parks twice. So we're hoping this will make a big difference. And we're getting a new person on board, so hopefully that'll take care of some burden there too, so she can really watch it and stay ahead of it. That once the mowers get old, it's just the maintenance costs are just astronomical on them, so.
Yeah.
I think it'd be well worth it. That's why we kind of went with the bigger mower, cut time down. Hopefully we can get done with less people.
So one of the questions I had over email was, I thought I saw a group, I would assume that they would have been contracted, that was mowing the dog park for us. And I don't know, was that actually
We
our?
haven't accepted the dog park yet.
Yeah, Nelson Homes is still doing that.
Okay, okay. Well, it made me wonder though, especially if we're gonna be paying, this kind of, every 5 years for a brand new machine and the lease and maintenance and all of that. Have we done a recent look into, would it be better to outsource the mowing and the equipment to somebody else or?
We looked at it. What, 5 or 10 years ago,
Uh-huh.
just to mow the grass and do nothing else is 3 times our whole entire park budget.
Wow.
So that's why we haven't even messed with this thing.
Yeah.
And so there's a couple of cities that do it. And I don't know how they work it, but like I said, we had. I think 3 people give us bids and every one of them was more than our entire budget, so we just never looked at it again. And none of them want to clean bathrooms and Take calls in the middle of the night, or go turn off lights. They just wanna mow and weed, they don't wanna
Yeah. Okay,
take or anything else, so.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, we'll look for a motion on this.
I move to approve, excuse me, the Toro mower lease in the amount of $17,392 annually.
Seconded.
Motion and a second. We'll begin with a roll call vote from Councilman Halverson.
Aye.
Hi,
Aye.
Okay.
How,
Motion,
how soon do you get it?
We actually told them. They get it coming. And then we did work with the, we don't have a people to buy it, yet, but he'll bring it in. The second we get approval, we come pay for it. So,
I was gonna say, I thought they had it in. And they were-
and I thought we get their store yet over there, but. We told them, we got Ferris and, we go and play and we should, if we could.
Okay,
super.
thank you.
Yeah, Mark, thanks for your whole crew. I appreciate what you've been doing.
Okay, our reports. Anyone have any new business that they would like to bring up quickly, and then we'll go through the committee.
I was asked by a citizen about if the city requires a dust fence over there on the corner across from Maverick. With all of the work and construction that was going on, most of them will put up some type of, barrier that will collect some of the dust as they're doing it. And apparently they don't have one over there. Is that right?
Well,
Is it
it's all,
required?
it all depends on their SWIP plan.
Yeah,
And if it deemed that it was necessary, but if they're not catching it, then Brandon or someone needs to bring that up to their attention.
yeah.
Dust fence or a storm lock?
It's something that I haven't ever experienced. So I'm assuming he was particularly bringing up that it was supposed to catch some of the dust and stuff from it. But I'm assuming that it's the 3 foot tall, 4 foot tall silt fence. That's what it is. Yeah,
It just depends on where,
On 2700.
On the east side.
Between 89.
on the east side, yeah,
Between the
uh-huh,
frontage.
where they've just been doing all of the leveling and everything and getting all that, so. Yeah, just didn't know if that was supposed to, and I would be surprised if we don't require it because of right where all of that is at in the mouth of the wind tunnel. So,
Was there a permit required for that?
Silt fence is for water. It doesn't have anything to do with the wind.
and it goes where the drainage goes.
Yeah, and if they have somewhere on site, they present a plan, sometimes they have silt fence, sometimes they don't. If there's somewhere for the water to go pond on their property and not go into the storm drain. They don't have to have silt fence, they have to put BMPs in place, best practices in place. To cover the drains,
okay,
so, but I'll have our stormwater guy Corey pull up their SWIP plan.
okay.
And definitely stand out with it.
But we do have something in code. I know that construction or excavation cannot be creating large dust clouds and stuff like that when they're doing it. And they normally just, do the water trucks or something in it or do it later in the afternoon. So something we just may want to keep an eye on.
So is the
Yeah.
resident seeing something concerning?
Yeah,
So
Oh, I
Trevor
think
now.
just the-
Yeah, code
Thompson,
enforcement.
okay.
I will tell you that they do have, I don't know what they're called,
You're in my world now.
covers over for the storm drain
Yeah.
to prevent illicit discharge.
That's part of it.
And it's working, so.
Okay. That's all. I
What it's called.
Any other,
Do that presentation.
any other new business you would have?
I just want to thank Shaylee and Trevor and the rest of the staff for South Weaver Days. You guys worked your butt off.
It was fun seeing all the pictures that you posted on there, Shaylee.
You did good.
Did good. Staff, do you have any new business? To do with committee reports in? Do you have anything? No.
I have all of my committee meetings tomorrow, so nothing.
Quinn?
Just one update on the dust side of thing. Excuse me. University of Utah has removed their sensors from the city now. I'm meeting with them tomorrow to go through all their data and we'll discuss what they found, but from what I'm seeing, none of the levels are anywhere near exceeding what EPA allows on the fine particulate type of thing. We're gonna see if their data tracks on the heavier stuff similar to what we're doing or not. But I'll give a report on that, excuse me, next time. At some,
So their sensors, they're not leaving them here
no, they
constantly, it was just a,
they left them for a few months. And it was more just to see if they're working and get some data on it. They may do some tweaks depending upon what they found. But that's
Okay.
it.
What about what Lynn was talking about earlier?
Oh, up on the top of the hill?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. We have talked with Leighton a couple times, but we don't have any real
it's in the,
control.
it is in the county, it's unincorporated county.
Yeah.
And we've talked to them, and I've talked to the commissioners about it several times. Told them that they need to look into that. They claim that they are. But that pile just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So.
But yeah, we need to follow up with
It's
the commissioners on
definitely a
that.
concern, but I brought it up with them and they, you know, they're monitoring it and saying that everything that they're doing and the county is okay with, so. But we should follow up again. I agree. Need to look into that. Dave, did you get a email from Wasatch Integrated on a stakeholders meeting that city managers are to attend?
Yes. I saw an email come through. They were trying to schedule a meeting.
Yeah, so it's on for next Tuesday, week from today, between 2 and 4.
Okay.
Just wanted to make sure you got that.
Okay, I'll make sure that you represent it.
That pertains to the recycling program that the district is really pushing for, and they want input from the cities on it. And so they're called for a meeting for all the city managers to attend and come up with the best options to enforce the recycling program. Next year, you will see recycling in all the cities in the county, so.
Yeah, that's a significant change for us.
That will be.
And right now, it's on the personal level, it's not citywide, and so
Yeah.
we'll make sure to monitor what that means for us and
Yeah.
and report back.
Yeah. Okay, Angie. Do you have anything? Committees?
You already did. yours.
Oh, for my committees? No, sir. Thank you.
Larry?
No, I don't have anything further.
Okay. We knocked that out.
Shaylee has something for you, though.
Shaylee?
Okay, I had the pleasure of going to a communications conference last week, and I just kind of wanted to report on a few things that I was able to learn there. I learned it's a conference for like the entire nation for communicators, for cities and counties and everything. So I was able to learn a lot from other communicators that have been in this position a lot longer than I have, for events and ways that we can reach out to our residents in a better way. So we learned a lot that way. One of the exercises that we were given was to come up with a 3-word kind of way to describe a plan that we have as communicators. And what I chose was "we're better together." We focused a lot. What we're focusing a lot on in South Weber right now are events to kind of bring our residents together to kind of build a stronger community within this city. So I thought it was a great exercise, but that leads me to talking about a couple events that we have coming up. Next Thursday, the 21st, for American Founders and Constitution Month, we are doing a trivia night here at City Hall. It's going to be like in the style of a pub trivia, so bring a team of 4. You can RSVP on our website. I'll make sure I have a link there. So just come up with a team name, put your teammates' names down and everything for who you want. There will be food and prizes and possibly a guest appearance from one of our founding fathers. I'm not going to go into it a little bit more than that. But that starts at that starts at 6:30 next Thursday here at City Hall. So we hope to have people sign up. We'll have a lot of that on social media as well. The week after, we have our very last concert in the park for this summer concert series. That one is going to start, it usually starts from 6 to 8, but this one's going to start at 4. And the reason why is because we have Connext sponsoring this one. So now that they're all through the system and everything, and they're connecting all of our residents, they wanted to take some time to kind of give our residents a little more information on what they're doing and what the next step is to bringing fiber into our residents' homes. So they will have games and prizes and stuff starting at 4 at Central Park on the 28th of September, so Thursday, the 28th. Our band will be coming at 6 p.m. as well as food trucks. So we know we had a break in August. We didn't have a concert then, so this might be a little it might seem a little last minute, but this one's been planned for a while. So we just hope to see a bigger crowd there. So thank you.
Was the
Thanks, Taylor.
Constitution event at 7?
It starts at 6:30.
6:30.
Yes.
And it's here. Okay, thank you.
Can I
Sherry.
report on one thing?
Sure.
You all received an email from Trevor about flag design. Please take a look at that when you get the chance and respond. Not necessarily urgent happening right away, but something that we'd like to keep the ball rolling on, so. Please take a look at that.
Thanks.
Okay. With that, then we'll close this council meeting and go into a closed session. So that's for the motion to adjourn.
May I make a motion to adjourn and open a closed session?
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.